Hello friends, today we are going to see how to connect to a SQL Server Database using Visual Studio. So I have a DB already installed in my PC, so I'm just querying it. I have a simple table called login table. So I have a single record on this table. We'll see how to fetch this record value from Visual Studio. So let us open the Visual Studio. I'm creating a new project. So I'm just keeping Visual Studio, Windows and desktop application. I'm making it as DB connection form as the project name, and I'm selecting the repository where I need to place it. I'm also saving the location with the solution directory. I'm clicking on next. I'm not changing the framework, let it be on 8.0. So the project is getting loaded. So what we are going to do is we are going to have two different fields, user ID and password. So we'll try to fetch the password from the database using the user ID. So for which we need two different fields. So I'll just place two different labels here. The first label I'll leave it as user ID, and the second label I'll name it as password. So since I have two different variables, I need two text boxes as well. So let's drag and drop here, just aligning it as per the form. So this, to fetch this we need a command button, so that on click of it will fetch the data. So for this button I'll name it as fetch data. In the form I'll rename it as DB connection. So let's see how we can embed this with the SQL Server. So this is the default code which is available. So the public class and on form load, the subs have been loaded. So what we will do, first we need to put a reference to the server, SQL Server. So for which I need a class. So import system dot data dot SQL client class. So what this class basically does is it will import and give all the functions which are required for the SQL connection. So first I need a connection variable. So I'll define that. So I'm just defining from SQL client class. I need a SQL connection. So I'm defining a SQL connection variable. So this is a subset of SQL client class, wherein I could see it is shown in red. So this shouldn't show in red because it's a direct subset of this SQL client. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix this. So when you highlight it, it will automatically show what are the solutions available to fix it. So here I'm selecting find and install the latest version. Keep your internet connection on so that it can automatically detect that package and install it. So it's just a simple error which you can fix it just by clicking it. If you find the same error while you do this, you can do the same thing. Next I'm adding a command variable. So this is nothing but whatever we pass the command, we need to pass it through a command variable. So first it needs to understand it as a command, so we have to define using the command function. Next I'm using a reader. So using this reader we can accumulate the data and show the data in the form. So I need a SQL data reader. So So all these variables, all these SQL connection, SQL command, and SQL reader are the subsets of SQL client. So without defining this, we can't get these variables. So the connection variable is for the connection which we will pass for the connecting the database, and command is the command whatever the select or insert command which we will be passing, and the SQL reader is for the reading the data output which is fetched. So these three variables are required for connecting the SQL server. And I will define one more variable for my results, which I will store it as a string variable. Okay, so we have defined the variables. Now let us start to code it. So first I'll define what is my connection. So I need a new connection. So I'll put new SQL connection. And this I need a three different variables. One is initial catalog, which is nothing but the database name. Okay, my database name is newaz underscore db. You can see this here. It's newaz underscore db. So I'm just giving the same name, put a semicolon. Then data source. Where is the data? My data is on the localhost, so I'm putting it as localhost. If it is in some other remote location, you can put the IP address or the exact host name. Next is integrated security. So integrated security means whether you are going to use the DHCP or the um, your user ID or password. So this particular part means I'm using the system account. So like you can, if you have used an SQL server, you would know, like you for an SQL server you can use either the local system account or the separate user ID and password to connect the database. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the local system account. So I'm using the local DHCP server ID password as my ID for the as my credentials for the database access. So if you are using a local admin ID password, you have to use this, or else you can use the ID and password specifically given for the SQL server, wherein you can type it as user ID and password. I will show that as well. User ID user ID equals to, you have to type the user ID here and password as password here. So these two variables will represent the user ID and password if you have a specific user ID and password for the SQL server. So here I'm using this local system account, so it's not necessary. So I'll just use the integrated security as true. So this will automatically take my local system account, whatever I'm using here. Since I'm already logged in with a local domain, I don't need a specific user ID and password here. So coming back to the form, so we have loaded the form. So we have defined the variables. Now I need to fetch the data on click of this. So what I will do, I'll code it on here. So my connection is ready. Now I'll place a command. Okay, so I'll place my command equals to my command, my connection dot create command. So this is nothing but I'm creating a new command. So I need to define it. So next is my command dot command text. My command dot command text. So this is nothing but what you're going to select. So first is I'm defining a command. Next is I'm creating a command. Means I'm defining that command. First is creating command. Next is defining that command. So here I'm going to select the password field alone from login underscore a. where login ID equals to giving the text box value. So here I'm placing that value. So what this will do is it will select the password from the login table where login ID equals to that user ID. So the text box one is nothing but the user ID. Next we have defined the command now. Let us now execute it. So first we need to open a connection. We have defined the connection but we have not yet opened it. So I'm opening the connection. Okay. Next is I'm executing the command. So I need to define the execute the command. So I'm executing it, but while executing it we need to store it to the reader. So I'm just executing the command. So I'm using execute reader function. Okay, so execute reader. So execute reader will execute the command which is given here and it will store it to the reader which we have defined here. Now it has stored to my reader. It has executed and it has stored to my reader. So I need to read that value. So I'm reading it. Okay. Now once it is read, I need to showcase that result. So I'm showcasing it from my reader. So it will be like string. So I'm just using string because I've used string. So this reader will execute and then I can get those values using a getString method. So this getString method is a subset of myReader. So it will be stored as strings. We can convert it into values or whatever you want. So by default it's stored as arrays. So since I've selected only one column, I'm using 0. If you have selected 2 or 3 columns, you can use 0, 1, 2, 3 like that. And based on this you can read and showcase the values. So right now I have only one field, so I have only one record. I'm just reading it and just directly placing it as result into the results variable. Now I have read the values and I have stored it in the results variable, but it won't be visible in the form, right? So I need to showcase it. So I'm just using a text box to showcase it. We have already defined this, so I'm just assigning it. So this value will be visible there. Now I've done my job. Now, but the connection is still open, right? My reader is also open, so I need to close the reader as well, since the reader is also kind of uh, connection. So I'm closing the reader first, then I'm closing the connection. Okay. So with this the code is finished. Okay, let us see how it is functioning. Stored it. Okay, I've saved it. Now let's run and see. So now the form is getting built. Error here. Let us see what it is. I'll just stop it. It's a spelling mistake. So be careful with your spelling mistakes. Okay. So now the form is loaded. That means it is successfully, it has built. So let us see whether it is able to fetch. So I'm giving the user ID as Nivas. So it's already there here, right? So it should fetch learn with Nivas, right? So I'll fetch the data. It has fetched the learn with Nivas. Okay. So this is a simple thing. So let us clear this. Okay. Since it's a new small form, I did not give a clear button number. We will work on those in the future. Now I'm inserting a new value, say um, set into values. I'm giving test as user ID, test123 as password, and then get date variable because I have three fields in the table, so I'm just executing. So this is nothing but user ID, this is password, and this is for the timestamp. So it is inserted now. Let us see whether it has been. So now the values have been inserted. Okay, so we can see the test which is inserted now. So let us see whether it is able to fetch the data. So again I have loaded it, so I'll give the user ID as test and fetch data. So test123 has come up, so it's nothing but the same variable which we have inserted just now. So data. Okay, so this is how you can code yourself with a small simple application with connection to the SQL server. So there are many other ways. I'll do a video shortly on how to connect with the SQL server and use the SQL server efficiently. So guys, if you like the video, just press a like button and subscribe to my channel. Learn with news. Let's keep learning and let's evolve. Thank you.